in this kind of deck where normally they might not be able to play a lot of colorless sources. They get essentially a free one off of Veteran Explorer, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised for Dave to see Dave go for one early off of Veteran Explorer, just to make sure that he has an ability once he has Displacer in play to be able to maybe protect himself.
The other big one of here is the main deck Peacekeeper, which if this is a stock sneak and show list, which it appears to be, yeah, main deck, he has no outs to it, and post board, yeah, this isn't like the Omniscience version, so they can't combo around it. So you really have to deal with it before you can actually attack with either of your big fatties.
Yeah, right. We'll definitely be getting into that in just a little bit, the sideboard. But for now, game one, looking pretty fine here. Brett's hand is really solid. Gataxian Probe is going to be where he's going to lead off here, and he has a Preordain, a top sneak attack, and Emrakul here. And we see that Dave does have Peacekeeper in his opening hand, and he can play that on turn 3. So Brett's really going to need to be very careful here. Can't really play show and tell, and he's going to really need to find a force for this Peacekeeper if Dave decides to play it. Otherwise, he might be in a ton of trouble.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. I'm actually not getting the video feed for the match. I just see a spinning, like, loading sign type thing. I'm not sure what's going on. Rudy, help!
Oh, Zach, I can't help you here.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's still just spinning. I don't know what's going on.
Just give it a moment. Maybe if you X out and come back in, it'll boot back up for you. But we have Dave here playing a Savannah, leading off with a Deathrite Shaman. And it looks like Brett is going to go ahead and spin this top on his upkeep here. Got to assume he's looking for either a Force of Will or potentially a Soul Land to be able to make use out of the sneak attack that's in his hand. And we see his spinning top is just Island Brainstorm, Misty Rainforest here. He's got to assume with a Polluted Delta in hand. It looks like he's not going to take the Brainstorm here, and he's going to go ahead and take Polluted Delta instead and just pass. All right, and we'll see what Dave has here. Dave actually drew Eternal Witness here, so he actually has an ability to use Deathrite Shaman, cast Peacekeeper, and if Brett does have the Force of Will, he can use Eternal Witness the turn after to buy it back. And we kind of know Brett's hand here. He doesn't have a Force of Will. He's going to have to find one with that Sensei's Divining Top. But it looks like instead, Dave's going to go ahead and cast Green Sun Zenith for 2. My guess here is he's going to get Gaddock Teague. Is a way. Oh, this is actually very good out of Dave. Dave is actually going to Green Sun Zenith here for 2. If Brett doesn't have a Force Will for this, that means for sure he's going to be able to resolve the Peacekeeper next turn.
Right, because that'll cut off Force of Will, and there are no other main deck counterspells that can take care of a creature spell.
Right, and this has got to feel really bad here. This top is Spell Pierce, Emrakul, Gataxian Probe, and that's certainly not what you want here. And this is just going to have to resolve here. And now, unfortunately, without any outs to Gaddock Teague in the main deck, Brett can no longer cast Sneak Attack. And because Dave just happens to have Peacekeeper in hand, I think this is just going to be the game. I think we're going to be moving on to game 2 in just a moment, as soon as this Gataxian Probe resolves. And unfortunately, Brett can't cast Sneak Attack here. The only thing he could potentially try and do is use show and tell to put in Sneak Attack. That's one of the ways the deck kind of gets through Gaddock Teague. But with the fact that Dave actually just has Peacekeeper in hand, he's actually just insulated fully from losing.
That's actually kind of a unique one. I would have guessed that Sneak and Show would definitely have the advantage here, being the faster combo, but it looks like the draws have gone the way of the Nick Fit player this time.
Yeah, and we're going to see Brett here fetch first. Doesn't want any of those top two cards. Can't really blame here, and is going to go ahead and probe Dave. See that he still has that Peacekeeper here, and drawing a Lotus Petal is certainly not the best here. Can't really cast Sneak Attack, unfortunately, because of this Gaddock Teague.
Right, and now I guess with Brett having no outs, right? He can't cast a Show and Tell, knowing that the piece. I guess you're really hoping just for a slip up on the Nick Foot player's part, right? Like he can't cast his Show and Tell because you would just put the Peacekeeper in, and then that sort of locks you out the rest of the game.
Right, and we've seen a lot of Sneak and Show decks, especially in the last 6 months or so, start to include Jace the Mind Sculptor as just kind of a card that could potentially get you out from some of this stuff. But unfortunately, with Gaddock Teague on the field, that wouldn't even be an out here either.
No, it would have to take something like a Cunning Wish or those kind of something that could get a removal spell, and I don't think he has that option. This isn't like the more Omniscience combo version.
Right, and we see Brett go ahead and draw with this top here. Draw just a Gristlebrand here, preordained to put an island to the bottom, redraw his top, and then play a Lotus Petal here. But yeah, things are certainly not looking good here, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure. Maybe Mike could clear this up for us. Do the players have each other's deck lists? Okay, the players do have each other's deck lists here, so I think Dave, realistically, all he has to do is just keep playing threats here at this point and just attack until Brett concedes.
Actually, I guess it's worth noting. Oh no, the upkeep cost. I was gonna say. I thought the upkeep cost was 3 on Peacekeeper. It's only 2, so actually, Dave already has the requisite mana to continue paying for it. So yeah, this is really, unfortunately, kind of futile for Brett at this point. I don't think he actually has any outs.
Yeah, Brett can go ahead and like show and tell in sit around until he finds his Caracas.
Right. I guess you could maybe try and hard cast some. Actually, hard casting these creatures doesn't even do anything because with the Peacekeeper you can't attack anyway. Well,
yeah,
I guess you could.
And
I don't know. I was gonna say maybe you could hope that Dave just misses on just bricks on land drops for like 10 turns, but we just saw that's not gonna happen either. So no, I think now it's just a show for the viewers until he's dead.
Yeah, and here we're just going to see basically Brett just kind of be dead on board. So I'm interested to see what happens here the next couple of turns. Imagine that Brett is alive for much longer. In the dark, he's going to name Gristlebrand. And he's going to nab a Gristlebrand, leaving Brett with Sneak Attack, Emrakul, Scalding Tarn. Not great, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, and this top's going to spin and find Brainstorm, Ponder, City of Traders. And I mean, as we said before, I don't think Brett really has an out here, but Brett is going to go ahead and just keep playing until he finds something.
Yeah, given that the deck lists are public knowledge to all the players, it's not like you can dig for any information or something like that, like you would in a normal match.
Right. There's certainly something to be said that in other in other facets that it's entirely possible. We're gonna see a Show and Tell cast here. I assume Sneak Attack's gonna come in and he's just gonna hope Dave doesn't put in Peacekeeper, but Dave certainly does, and going to go ahead and eat something here. And
so is this the old hope that your opponent misses their upkeep trigger?
Oh yeah, but even if she just doesn't need to, he's going to go ahead and eat away with this Deathrite Shaman for 2 turns, and that's going to be it. We're going to see Brett concede, and we're going to go to the sideboards here. And we see that Dave has a couple Pithy Needles and a Gaddock Teague. So that's going to be pretty nice here. We also see Sigarda, Host of Herons. Now, what's really interesting about Sigarda here is even though it's kind of just like this 5 mana, 5/5 that has hexproof, doesn't really have too many other abilities. It makes it so you can't sacrifice permanents. So Dave with Sigarda in play and a Karakas can actually allow an Emrakul to attack and then Karakas it. So that is definitely a neat thing to note about his sideboard. We also see Chains of Mistopheles, which is going to be really good. And as expected here from Brett's side, we see Sudden Shock, we see Pyroclasm. He's going to board out Gataxian Probe. What do you think about Brett boarding in Blood Moons and Through the Breach?
Blood Moon's probably not at its best here, since Nick Fit thrives on Veteran Explorer interactions and trying to get a lot of basic lands that way. I mean, if you catch them like super early, like a turn 1 Blood Moon, before they have a chance to run that cycle of like Cabal Therapy with a Explorer, then you could potentially lock them out kind of with just the mana screw them off of basic lands. But I think most games that's probably too unlikely, kind of a fragile.
I can definitely agree with that. I was actually thinking more along the lines of being able to shut off Karakas, which is one of Dave's ways to interact. And I was also thinking about cutting off his colorless sources.
I didn't see because the sideboarding was done already. But did he have Pithing Needles in his sideboard? Because usually that's
Brett doesn't. Dave does.
Okay, so if Brett doesn't have Pithing Needles, then because that would be something he'd really, a normal way that they would go after things like Karakas.
Brett has Wipe Away and Grafdigger's Cage, so I wouldn't be surprised to see those boarded in along with the Pyroclasms and the Sudden Shocks.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave has a Sigarda. He has a Chains of Mistopheles, 2 Pithing Needles, and a Gaddock Teeg to board it in this matchup.
Actually, yeah. So then it looks like Dave's sideboard is actually pretty solid here too. Now, is he considering taking out the Peacekeeper?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting that he's considering doing that. But it looks like he still is just kind of like debating on what he wants to board in. But yeah, I don't think I want to get rid of Peacekeeper. I kind of want to force Brett here to find an answer to my Peacekeeper first before anything else here. So it's pretty interesting that Dave's kind of boarding it out. I guess if Dave's trying to go on a more of a plan where he's just trying to attack and disrupt at the same time. And this is actually pretty good for him here. His opening hand has a Veteran Explorer and a Cabal Therapy and a basic Swamp. So that is kind of nice.
He's already, as long as he's, he's not on the play here, but obviously Brett didn't bring in the Blood Moons and doesn't have a turn 1 Blood Moon anyway. So he can't mana lock him. So this Veteran Explorer is definitely going to get to do its thing. I actually thought it was a little curious that Dave chose to keep in the Stoneforge Mystic and all of its package, because normally that's the kind of thing you would want against some of the like slower, grindier decks, something like like a Shardless deck or the ones that want to go long. Normally against combo, that the Stoneforge trying to get like a Batterskull or something is a pretty slow way to win.
Wow, and this is great here. Not only did Brett's Ponder find him a Force of Will to protect himself, it also found him an Ancient Tomb as well. So not only will Brett get to protect himself with a Force of Will this turn from a Cabal Therapy, he will also be able to jam a Show and Tell into Gristlebrand on turn 2.
Yeah, and I think outside of a phenomenal draw, something like a Karakas, that's going to be really rough for Dave here. Because he doesn't have anything stellar on his end to put in other than maybe Birthing Pod. The problem is it doesn't get him to 2. It doesn't get him to 3 mana. And actually he took out the Peacekeeper, so yeah, he can't even go that route.
Try to find that. Yeah, yeah. We'll be interested to see what he goes ahead and puts in here. Looks like he chose Birthing Pod.
Yeah, that seems like it's the best choice of the cards he has available. Unfortunately, I don't know of anything on 2. Again, I apologize. I don't have these. Well, I don't have most Nick Fit lists memorized to begin with. And
you could. Dave's deck list is online. I can actually send it to you. I'll post it in here. But This is Dave's deck list.
I just wasn't sure what he had at the 2 mana slot, since he would be able to.
It looks like
play Veteran Explorer here.
Mystic, Gaddock Teeg, Scavenging Ooze. And then post for just another Gaddock Teeg. So it doesn't look like he has much.
So at best he can get a Gaddock Teeg here, and that's, I mean, he can get some mana, but the downside there is he's going to be giving Brett 2 more lands also. Looks like that is what he's chosen to do, though.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be surprised here that after this turn, it looks like there's still Cabal Therapy in the yard, so there's a good chance that Dave's maybe possibly going to hit something out of Brett's hand, although I'm not sure if Brett really cares at this point. He's going to be able to draw 14 cards just next turn.
Well, and
or
these lands come out untapped, right? So,
correct.
Okay, so he can play the Stoneforge Mystic, but even that doesn't really help all that much. And what I was going to say is really great here is that Brett now with his extra lands has access to Wipe Away, so he can actually wipe away the Birthing Pod and potentially, I don't know if, I'm not sure how the mana works out, but he might be able to keep, because it looks to me like Dave is going for Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to be able to certainly do that next turn. But I wouldn't be surprised here, as I said, to see Brett just draw a bunch of cards.
Oh, that's brutal. That sudden shock is brutal right now. This
Pyroclasm's a little more brutal.
Actually, that too, yeah.
Yeah, but as I said here, I wouldn't be surprised to see a attack for 7 here, a Pyroclasm cast on Gaddock Teeg and Stoneforge Mystic, and then a Show and Tell to put in Emrakul.
Yep, definitely agree. I think, and that'll pretty much seal it up, I imagine, because the only other creature that he can put in, Dave can put in, is this Marin of the commander card.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dave put in Batterskull, but even then, I don't think that's gonna be great here.
Is there anything at 5 on the pod curve that could potentially?
Sigarda, but that doesn't seem great. I think maybe something that we could have seen here is if Dave still had Peacekeeper in his yard, he could have played the Veteran Explorer, used the therapy to get rid of the Veteran Explorer to tag out from Brett's hand, and then he could play a 2 and then crack his 2 with Birthing Pod to go get Peacekeeper. That would have been really nice to see if Dave still had Peacekeeper in his deck.
Yeah, as it is, he doesn't have that as an option.
Yeah, now we're gonna see Show and Tell go ahead and put something else in here. It looks like Brett's gonna choose to put in Emrakul, which we're pretty much not surprised about by any stretch. And we'll see what Dave's putting. It looks like he's leaning towards Marin.
I guess that leaves him with the best Birthing Pod options, because the token, the Germ token, can get a 1-drop, which doesn't really help him here.
Yeah, sure. It's all about roughly the same here. I don't think there's much for him to do. And it looks like he's just going to go ahead and pass here.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to not see the Pyroclasm.
Yeah, I think I definitely would have liked to see Pyroclasm here. I'm certainly pretty scared of, what if Dave left in Peacekeeper here? I mean, I guess he might want to, just hold it for that, but I don't think I'd like for him to be able to get any value here. And this has got to feel pretty bad.
Oh gosh, and Dave drew the Eldrazi Displacer. That's terrible.
Yeah, this is just not very good. Just in this instance, he just really needed to draw something else here. And even if he goes ahead and he gets Sigarda here, it's not really going to be great for him.
I guess all Sigarda can do for him is chump block the Emrakul and give him another turn.
Yes.
He can hard cast Eldrazi Displacer, and then turn Marin into Sigarda and buy himself 1 more turn. I think the Wipe Away is going to be really problematic in that case, though.
Yeah, certainly. As I said, I really wouldn't be surprised here to. I was actually kind of surprised that Brett didn't cast Pyroclasm, but maybe he just kind of wanted to get Dave to put the Peacekeeper into play before he Pyroclasmed.
Okay, so we're actually activating the Stoneforge Mystic instead.
All right,
so I guess
Batterskull. And it looks like Dave's doing everything he can to try to survive here. Interesting. He went ahead and cracked out Stoneforge Mystic. I wonder what he's going to go ahead and get here. Yeah, I wonder what. It looks like he's getting Bone Shredder. Bone Shredder.
Also buys a turn by killing
Yeah,
Emrakul.
yeah, that's definitely interesting. I've never seen a Bone Shredder kill an Emrakul before.
Yeah, because I guess Bone Shredder can only get what, non-black, non-artifact, or it
Right.
gets non-black. So Emrakul actually meets that description. Now, excuse me. We're still the threat of the Grizzlebrand here, right? Like we
Well,
can
he
use
does have
something like
Bone Shredder.
Pyroclasm to clear the way, and then it's still just a 2-turn clock.
Right.
So I'm gonna point out, if Dave draws a land next turn, he can pot away Marin of Clan Neltoth for Sigarda, and then equip Batterskull to it, and have a 9/9 flying lifelink that
He does
with
he does
hexproof.
outsize the
Like,
Grizzlebrand then.
Brett can wipe away the Batterskull, but I think that's the out he's playing towards.
So
It's definitely a good point here. So we're gonna see Dave go ahead here and ship for 5. It's gonna drop Brett down to 9. It's gonna make that Ancient Tomb just a little worse. If Brett decides he needs to draw 7.
yeah, I guess Dave's not completely out of it yet. We may have been a little presumptuous. Seems to be managing the big fatty boom booms on the other side pretty well.
To be fair, I think if we saw Brett Pyroclasm last
Yeah,
turn,
that may have
I
been.
don't think this would have been. I think that would have been pretty much all she wrote.
Wonder what the justification there was on Brett's side for not casting the Pyroclasm and just cleaning up everything but the Marin.
And I'm honestly not sure. Maybe he was. I don't know. Maybe he might have been a little greedy. Maybe, as I said, maybe he believes that Dave has left in Peacekeeper, and if that is truly what he believes that Dave has done, then it might be worth it to just go ahead and wait for him to get that and then Pyroclasm it away. But it looks like Wipe Away is just going to be used now to get rid of this Marin. Gaddock's going to still crash in for 2 here, dropping Brett down to 11.
Okay, so we'll probably see the Pyroclasm now to clear out the blocker. Because Pyroclasm hit flyers, so that'll take care of Bone Shredder.
Oh, and there's a Grafdigger's Cage, which is certainly a good draw here.
Oh, it shuts off Birthing Pod. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's going to kill Birthing Pod here. So I'm interested to see what. And now Brett's going to go ahead and cast Pyroclasm. It's going to get rid of Gaddock and Bone Shredder. That's going to give Brett back access to Force of Will now, so he will be able to Force of Will anything that's not a Karakas here.
Now the downside to using that Wipe Away to preserve some life is that he drew this Show and Tell this turn, and unfortunately, if he casts it, the Marin can come right back out. So
Right.
it looks like he's going with the Sudden Shock.
Yeah, Sudden Shock on Germ Token here is going to prevent. Well, here's the thing: if Brett does go ahead and Sudden Shock this Germ Token here, then Brett doesn't have any attackers on the field, and Grizzlebrand is able to kill it. So that is something to note here, but I'm interested to see what Brett's plan here is. It looks like he might just be casting Sudden Shock and Grafdigger's Cage, and just trying to avoid casting Show and Tell, since there's really no reason for it here. And Grafdigger's Cage and Pyroclasm is going to come down. He's going to play another land, and then looks like he's just going to move to his cleanup step, which I do like here. I think there's no reason to really cast Show and Tell. Nothing really too scary.
Now drawing the land there is big, because that if Brett didn't have the Force of Will, the Eldrazi Displacer would have given him the out. But Brett having a Force of Will means that I don't think there's a chance this Displacer resolves.
Certainly not here. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and I think Brett can't reach for that Force of Will fast enough to get this Eldrazi Displacer.
That should be all she wrote now, right?
Yep, and then we're going to see a concession from Dave.
All right.
He doesn't actually have any other routes here.
All right, so back to the sideboards.
In the side. Looks like Dave for Shriekmaw.
Now, Shriekmaw does a similar effect to Bone Shredder, right? Where it kills non-black, non-artifact?
Yep.
All right, so that still seems worth it.
Out to kill
Emrakul.
Yeah, just having a second card. Yeah, just having a second card to put in off show and tell to kill Emrakul doesn't seem to be the worst. I don't think we're going to see Brett make any major changes. He just has to wipe away some sudden shocks, pyroclasm in the cages, boarding out some of his spell pierces and probes. Mostly just kind of a trimming job. We're going to see Dave run back to the sideboard, cut one of the birthing pods for a Shriek Mob, but otherwise just keep it pretty much the same here. And we're on to game 3 here, and Dave is going to go ahead and be on the play here. And I think one of the best things that Dave, has access to is something like a turn 1 therapy here, which it looks like he doesn't have.
Yeah, so this hand is kind of land heavy. Now, I mean, having the singleton birthing pod could be advantageous for him, but I can't help but think that this hand is probably too slow in the face of like most sneak and show openers. And now, granted, Brett's hand is also kind of weak. Without any cantrips or filtering, he's looking at a turn 4 sneak attack activation at absolute best. So that I don't think either players would want to keep these hands ideally, but
no, looks like
it seems like they did.
Players kept, and a land off the top here for Brett is going to mean that he's going to be able to on turn 4 double activate sneak attack, and another swamp off the top here. Not looking good for Dave here. He's going to go ahead and fetch a forest and just cast the Stoneforge Mystic. I assume it's just going to go ahead and get a Batterskull here. And this birthing pod has just kind of been cleaned out here. And I like having Bone Shredder in hand as an out for show and tell Emrakul for sure, but certainly not looking good here. Wow, and Lotus Petal actually just means that
we got sneak and show or sneak attack next turn with an activation.
Ooh, and this is pretty interesting here. This is kind of unfortunate for Brett. He elected not to play sneak attack in case his opponent had Reclamation Sage or something of the like here, and instead Dave actually has Cabal Therapy. So now that Dave has Cabal Therapy, he can actually name Show and Tell or Sneak Attack, but I wouldn't be surprised also to see Dave name one of the big creatures. So we'll see here, but Dave certainly has access to double therapy, which is definitely kind of nice here. And Brett's hand is right. He can't flash it back, but he can cast it the first time at the very least.
Well, the issue there is he has to actually name in the blind correctly. Like if he can probably presume that there's no show and tell, given that Brett didn't go for it. So it's almost a sure thing that this is sneak attack. And I assume Dave will put the 2 and 2 together here and make the right call. Yeah. It's also possible he forgot about Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, it looks like he names Brainstorm, which is pretty interesting here. And I think that's probably one of the worst things that he could name here. I think once he lets Cabal Therapy resolve, I think I really want to name Sneak Attack, I think. And now this is going to be pretty bad.
I think we're going to see the full force of an Emrakul probably this turn just to clean up the board, and then next turn Griselbrand, can finish it off.
Well, actually, I wouldn't be surprised to see.
Actually, no, you're right. It'll go the other way around.
Yeah, put in Griselbrand, draw 14 cards, and try to hit one of the other 2 or 3 petals that are left in the deck. I don't know if he kept in all 4, but if he did, then that's certainly. Oh, it looks like he is going to go with Emrakul, though. I can't really fault him for that one.
Yeah, so I agree. In some ways, I agree with your assessment, Rudy, where you would want to go for the Griselbrand and just end the game this turn. But in a great number of ways, this Emrakul attack is the end of the game this turn, because outside of Dave drawing exactly Cabal Therapy, I don't think he'll have any cards that can save him. So yeah, drawing a fetch land here, he can't take the remaining Griselbrand, and that's the end of it.
Yep, and that's going to be the end. We're going to see Brett take this match over Dave 2-1, and that was. That was kind of what we expected to happen. We kind of expected Sneak Attack to kind of run over Nick Fit.
Yeah, I'm still a little curious as to why the Peacekeeper came out. Like I realize it can just become another casualty of the whole thing, like the pyroclasms and so on. But it doesn't seem like you would absolutely have to take it out.
Yeah, I think that just might have been a card that would have just been fine to keep in it at all points. It's just one of those cards that I think just has too much value in this kind of matchup because I mean seriously, it literally says creatures can't attack, and your opponent's way to kill you is by attacking.
Attacking, right? It's about
So
as good as Peacekeeper is against decks like elves, or in fact, like the ones that have to attack. There's no other option. So.
Right, and I like kind of putting the pressure because Dave's deck is inherently weaker in many ways than Brett's deck. I think I would have really liked to see kind of utilizing, some of the I guess bombs that he has, or some of his really good cards that he has in this matchup. Kind of put the onus on Brett. Say, all right, here's something for you to deal with. Can you deal with it? No. If you don't deal with it, sure, that's fine. Now I get to keep playing my game. You did deal with it. Okay, well now I have to find something else. And a lot of times, like, and if he sits there and he plays Peacekeeper, and Brett just kind of has his hand of show and tell or sneak attack and a creature, and he's just going to sit there and he's going to, all right, now I have to find a Pyroclasm. Now I have to find a Sudden Shock, and then he's just going to utilize all his draw spells to kind of do this. In the meantime, Dave could find a Cabal Therapy. He could find a Reclamation Sage. He could find a Batter Skull. And, in the meantime, he can apply pressure while, he's forcing Brett to find an answer.
Well.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's it for us for round number 1. And round 2 is going to be Caleb, I think. Caleb versus Leger, which is going to be Tinfins versus Doomsday. So this is a match that should end in 3 turns, but it will still probably take a while.
Yeah, I guess the combo aspect takes a while to run out, even though, like you said, it's just a 3-turn or 2-turn sometimes combo deck.
Yep. All right. And be sure to stick around for round 2. And thanks for checking out the Legacy Mediocre League.